Since you prepared the materials, you should also handle the presentation. You said you wanted to come along, so I brought you. That's right. I'm sorry, Jason. Now that things have calmed down, may I speak? Exactly. You should have just said that from the beginning. Honestly, I don't understand these young people. Who are you? Linda asked me this after hearing my story. My name is Tom. I got a job right after high school graduation. I enjoy talking to people and believe that a career in sales is my true calling. It's fun to interact with various people and promote the good aspects of our products. Instead of forcing sales, I introduce what the customers truly need and facilitate the transactions. That's how I do it. An opportunity led me to join my current company. I am Tom, and I joined the company today. Nice to meet you. Kind colleagues welcomed me with warm applause as a new member. I was determined to do my best at this company. But 2 months later, my resolve wavered. Don't you even know this? Research it yourself before you're asked. I'm sorry. Could you show me the template if it's not too much trouble? It seems different from what I used to use. Prepare it yourself. Don't rely on others for everything. That's the problem with newbies. These words were spat out by Jason, my manager. I heard that Jason graduated from a prestigious university and doesn't really appreciate those who joined the workforce straight after high school and midterm employment. Moreover, he seems to be lenient with female employees but strict with males. Having caught Jason's attention, I was being called out and berated daily. A guy who can't even do his job properly has no right to argue with me. Just follow my instructions. I understand. I'll prepare the template myself. That's what you should have said from the start. As I sat down, Jenny whispered to me from the next seat. I'm sorry if this is because of me. It's not your fault, Jenny. Don't worry about it. I caught Jason's attention a week ago. I found Jason, who had been persistently inviting Jenny to dinner, and I warned him. Jenny has thanked me several times, but Jason's harassment started the next day. Honestly, I'm not too bothered, but it's problematic when it interferes with daily operations. I'll send you my template. Thank you. While I find my job enjoyable, Jason's pointless scolding is just a waste of time. But if I point that out, he'll probably get angry again. One day, when I worked as usual, Jason suddenly approached me. We're going to a business meeting, so get ready. He said that. Where are we going for this business meeting? It's at Company X. They're a major player, so tighten up. The business meeting involved Jason, and I had never even been to that company before. Having helped Jason with his work on numerous occasions, I was familiar with the content of the business meetings. But I didn't think I could be of any help if I went along. Are you saying I should go along to learn? That's right. If you watch how I work, you'll improve too. If you understand, then hurry up and get your stuff ready. Watching Jason smirk, I had a bad feeling. Understood. Knowing I had no right to refuse, I packed my things and headed to the client with Jason. When we arrived, Jason put on a friendly laugh and a smile, shaking hands with the business partner. Thank you for giving us your time today. I hope we can do business together in the future. I had never seen this side of Jason before. Being a manager, maybe his communication skills were indeed high. About today's discussion, could I let this guy handle it? I nearly blurted out what, but managed to hold it back. He just wouldn't stop asking to do the negotiation himself. This guy is a newbie, is that all right? Nice to meet you. I'm Linda. The woman who introduced herself as Linda shook my hands. I followed suit and shook hands with her. I looked at Jason with a troubled expression, but he pretended not to notice and ignored me. Jason, don't be mean. He's clearly struggling. Ah. Sorry. Training newbies is part of my job, you know. I understand that, but he's very nervous. Maybe a major negotiation was too soon for him. Sorry about that. Then just watch me closely. Jason started talking proudly. While blushing slightly, he is grinning. He probably had a crush on her. May we proceed with the discussion? Of course. I hope we can do business together in the future. With that, Jason took out the documents and began the negotiation. As time passed, an indescribable atmosphere enveloped the room. So, that means this would increase the profits by. Could I ask for specific figures? In this case, how much would the profit increase by? That would be around 5% to 15%, roughly? Between 5% and 15% is quite a difference, don't you think? Well. I'll explain that in detail later. Then the next document is over here. No, wait, is it this one? Jason fumbled through the papers, clearly flustered. Unable to watch him struggle, I asked, "Are you okay, Jason?" When I call out to him, a voice that sounds like a shout comes back. "You prepared the materials, so you should be the one presenting them. You said you wanted to come along, so I brought you. Why do I have to present the materials you created?" I was taken aback by Jason's outburst. I had never once said I wanted to come to this meeting. In fact, today I was brought here suddenly. Moreover, I hadn't prepared these materials. It seemed like Jason hadn't prepared them either. Because of this, he clearly didn't know what to say or in what order to discuss things. I worried that the big contract might fall through and that I would be blamed. So, I spoke up. "That's right. I'm sorry, Jason. Have things calmed down enough for me to speak? That's what you should have said from the start. Honestly, I don't understand these young people." Jason seemed relieved to be freed from the situation. Continuing the presentation in such a state was obviously impossible. Jason looked at me with a smirk. It almost seems like he wants to say, "Hurry up and try it." I wasn't supposed to be here today. I didn't know what the negotiation was about, and he probably thought I would embarrass myself. "Can we move on? We don't have all day," Linda said as she started to stand up. "Please, just give me 3 minutes of your time. Listen for 3 minutes, and if you think it's a waste, then I'll give up." Linda sat back down, seeming to reconsider. "If we think it's unnecessary, I'm sorry, but we might have to reconsider future transactions." "Of course." With that, I pulled out the materials from my bag. I opened my laptop and began the negotiation. Jason looked at me with a shocked expression. He seemed to wonder why I had the negotiation materials. Regarding the sales figures we discussed earlier, I began confidently. "If you implement this, we expect a 7% increase in sales." "Where does this 7% figure come from?" "Please take a look at this chart," I said. "As you can see from this calculation." Linda watched me intently as I smoothly answered her questions. Occasionally, she threw in some tough or tricky questions. "It's okay, though." That question was anticipated. By considering what I would want to know if I were in her position, I was ready with the answers. "Who are you?" Linda asked after hearing my presentation. "He's just a new employee. I've been working hard to train him since he joined as a mid-career hire. When he first came in, he really couldn't do anything." As Jason chattered away gleefully, Linda stepped closer to me, cutting him off. "I'm asking Tom a question right now. Could you please be quiet for a moment?" Jason fell silent at her request. "Yes, really, I'm just a new employee who joined mid-career," I explained. "Jason has always been a great help to me." "That's right. You should be thankful. It's thanks to me that you've come this far." After looking back and forth between me and Jason, Linda finally said, "I would like to proceed with our transactions in the future." "Really? However, there is a condition. When you come, please come together, the two of you." "What? Why is that?" I am surprised because I don't really understand what Linda is saying. But Jason is even more surprised. "It's because you two work so well together. I would really like to work with both of you." She smiled warmly. "Jason must be a good mentor, right? He seems very promising." At that moment, Jason's face turned bright red with pleasure. It was clear now, he was quite taken with her. "That's right. I'm always guiding him. And thanks to that, he's grown into such a capable person. Then we will make sure to visit together in the future. Just watch my guidance, Linda." After saying she looked forward to it, she turned her gaze towards me. Her eyes seemed to say that she understands everything. They have a piercing intensity as if to declare it. "I look forward to meeting you again." The pleasure is all mine. I look forward to our continued partnership. On the way back, Jason was ecstatic in the car, acting as if his earlier mistakes had never happened. Then, he gleefully bragged to me about being praised by Linda. Isn't it great to be praised because of me? Which part was thanks to Jason, exactly? Was it for dragging me to the meeting unprepared? Or because he let me handle the negotiation? It turned out okay in the end, but it could have easily been a disaster. By the way, why did you have the documents prepared yourself? When I had some free time, I used to look over your negotiation documents. I would think about how I would handle it, almost like mental training in creating the documents. For a good-for-nothing like you, it's surprising you had the time. If you have that much free time, I'll make sure to give you even more work from now on. Jason said, laughing. Honestly, if asked whether I had the time, absolutely not. But dealing with Jason's odd jobs was an everyday occurrence. As part of that, I had seen the documents for this big negotiation. Given it was a major negotiation, I prepared how I would discuss it, which proved useful today. I never actually thought I'd be the one to conduct the negotiation. At my previous company too, I always acted proactively. By doing so, even if I didn't attend the actual negotiations, my mental arsenal grew. And by reviewing various presentation materials, I was able to learn a great deal. You started working right after high school graduation, didn't you? Jason's voice snaps me back to reality. Yes, that's right. Why do you ask? People like you really have no choice but to start working right after high school, huh? What do you mean by that? Jason's tone, filled with malice, slightly irks me. The reason I started working immediately after high school was due to my parents' passing. They died in a car accident, and thinking of my younger sister, who was 5 years younger, I chose to work. My grandparents were very kind and told me not to worry about money. However, if I went to college or vocational school, my sister might feel obliged to give up her dreams. So, I started working right away. Thanks to that, my sister is now attending vocational school and working hard to get her childcare license. As long as my sister can pursue what she wants, that's enough to make me happy. Having started working right after high school and living a work-first life, I don't have many friends. But I don't think that deciding to start working early was a mistake. People like you who are useless can only start working right after graduating high school. Do your parents still exist? Why couldn't you go to college? Jason asked rudely. I honestly don't feel great about it, and I don't really want to answer. But thinking it would be more trouble if I lied and was found out, I honestly answer. My parents passed away in an accident when I was in high school. So I thought I'd start working right after graduating. Don't worry, there's no university for someone like you. Jason says, bursting into laughter. What do you mean? What have you been saying? Exactly what it sounds like. You're lucky to be working for a big company like ours. Though, I don't really understand why you were hired. Jason laughed loudly. It's been nearly 2 months since I joined, and Jason seems to think I'm incompetent. You really can't do your job, can you? What did you do at your previous company? Honestly, it's true that things are not going well at work right now. But the reason work isn't going well is because of Jason. He dumps menial tasks on me, preventing me from progressing in my own work. Sometimes he tells me the wrong times, causing me to be late to meetings with other companies. And the sales results I achieved are reported as his achievements. Rumors are even spread that I'm incompetent and always late. The colleagues working nearby, of course, didn't believe such lies. But the department next door and the upper management who only know Jason's side believed him. You were so lucky today, weren't you? Just so you know. Make sure you prepare the materials properly next time. I'm not helping you. Just so you'd better be prepared. Jason's declaration almost makes me sigh. But if I can keep up the good performance, maybe I can change the opinions of those around me and the upper management. Thinking this, I tackle my daily tasks with all I can muster. Jason continues to berate me. Why haven't you prepared the materials? We need them right away. But you said these materials are for use in a week. Don't make excuses, just make them. We have less than an hour left. Understood. As I sit down, Jenny pokes me sharply in the arm. When I glanced at Jenny, she showed me her computer screen. It's an email about the meeting being moved up a week. It didn't reach you, though. It seems he was accidentally left off the recipient list. She said, looking at me worriedly. It's okay, thank you. I think I can manage it in an hour. But this is wrong. I'll go and talk to Jason. I stop her as she starts to get up. If you do that, you might become a target, you know? But I'll be fine. Really, don't worry about it. Even if I'm treated this way, I thought proving myself with my performance was best. At that time, I truly believed it. The negotiations with Linda's company went well, and they said they'd continue doing business with us. If this could lead to bigger projects being entrusted to me, I might be able to prove my worth. Maybe then Jason would stop complaining? That's what I thought as I accepted the injustice. But 2 weeks later, one day. I guess I really am a genius. As I arrived at the office, Jason was laughing joyously. What happened? When I asked Jenny, she hesitated and then said, he landed a major contract, so there's talk of him being promoted. Hearing about the major contract, I had a bad feeling and went to Jason. You came late. The deal with Linda's company is completely secured, and they've decided to let me handle future transactions. The management has acknowledged that, and now there's talk of my promotion. Wait a minute. Wasn't I the one handling that negotiation? I had been visiting Linda's company several times, but Jason just sat there like a statue. I did all the preparation for the negotiation. Jason talked briefly with Linda last time. His conversation revolved around boasting, my training is excellent, or I created all these materials. This negotiation was all done by me. You plan to steal your boss's credit for yourself. Even though your daily work is mediocre, you excel at this kind of thing. Saying this, Jason gestured dismissively, indicating I should go away. I couldn't accept this and confronted Jason. Wait a minute. What about me then? Didn't I create the documents and accompany you on these meetings? Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. I did all the document preparation. You were just sitting next to me, weren't you? Hearing that, I nearly collapsed. No matter how hard I try here, my efforts might never be recognized as my own. If things go well, they become Jason's achievements. If they fail, Jason's mistakes become mine. As I thought this, a stern voice came from behind. What do you mean, Jason? It was Linda. She entered the office, smiling warmly at me. Linda! You're here today. What's going on? Jason suddenly started to panic. Anyway, I don't catch what you're talking about. The one who created the documents and gave the presentation was Tom, right? Hearing this, the room started to buzz. Linda? Please explain, Jason. No, I made all the documents, Jason stammered. And I was with him throughout the presentation practice. Jason fumbled, still spinning his lies. He had never created the documents, nor had we practiced the presentation together. When I had asked for presentation practice, he had refused. He probably thought he could blame me even if things failed. Do you really think such lies will hold up? Linda stared coldly at Jason with piercing eyes. It's true, right? Tom. I stuttered, unsure of what to say. I wanted to honestly say that I had prepared the documents and conducted all the presentations. But in such a public moment, calling out Jason could lead to unpredictable consequences. With that in mind, I hesitated to act. Do you think I am unaware of what's been going on? I can tell who created the documents just by looking at them. Your documents are always poorly organized, she continued. At that, Jason's face turned bright red. Not out of anger, but from sheer embarrassment. What are you talking about? I've always made the documents, this time and last time too. Remember the first time we met, and I told you I couldn't understand your documents? You asked for another chance, and I specially made time for it later, didn't I? And you had someone else make the documents after that, right? It's impossible for the quality of the documents to improve so drastically in just 3 or 4 days. It turned out that the documents for our first negotiation weren't made by Jason either. If he had truly created them, he wouldn't have been so flustered. and there's no way he could be so incapable of explaining them. Well, I was sick that time, and so I had someone else make just the documents. But all the presentation materials after that were made by me, weren't they, Tom? Jason looked at me. If you tell the truth, I won't forgive you. He glares at me with eyes that seem to say just that. You can be honest. Were those documents created by Jason? Facing Linda's stern yet somehow warm gaze, I finally spoke up. I made all those documents. What are you saying? Do you think it's okay to lie like that? It's true. If you check the computer, you'll see. All the data was created by me alone. What do you have to say for yourself, Jason? He just joined and is desperate for recognition. That's all this is. Jason scoffed with a dry laugh. Clearly, he had no intention of admitting the truth. His look was one of "I'll never forgive you, remember this." But I couldn't back down now. Then, please show us your computer. What? If we made the documents together, it should be clear from checking your computer. You haven't actually prepared any documents, you just saved the data you got from me. All the information I need to prepare the documents is on my computer. I'm the type who immediately deletes unnecessary data. I don't keep documents after they're finished. That's just how I do things. Jason started saying things that don't make sense. The atmosphere around him was a bit exasperated. Only those in the same department knew what kind of person Jason is. But for people from other departments, this must be their first glimpse of Jason's true nature. I did all the business negotiations. Right, Tom? Shall we check the company's security cameras then? Linda said with a smile. Once we look at the surveillance footage, it will all be clear, won't it? I don't know why Linda is so cooperative with me. But it certainly was a great help. What will you do? Should we send it later? No. I mean, true, I did allow him to negotiate, but that was after I coached him. At this point, I was almost impressed that he's still trying to find excuses. Tom, your presentation and documents were absolutely perfect. I was surprised when I visited your company today. I couldn't believe that you were called incompetent. Linda told me that she heard about my reputation at the company today. She thought something was odd and decided to visit my office. She was furious when she heard what Jason said. Knowing that someone appreciates my hard work so much warms my heart. That's true. This guy is incompetent. At that moment, someone else entered the office. It was Mr. Harris. Why are you here? It was Mr. Harris, the president, who entered the office. Getting used to the job, Tom? Yes, I'm gradually getting used to it. I'm glad I headhunted you to join our company. But I'm sorry if you felt constrained. Mr. Harris apologized. I hurried over to him. Please don't apologize, Mr. Harris. Jason's face turned pale as he watches this exchange. And then he asked in a trembling voice, "Do you two know each other?" I was headhunted by Mr. Harris while working at my previous company and joined the current company. Mr. Harris, who had seen my presentation at a client's office, wanted me to work at his company. Thinking that a higher salary would allow me to repay my grandparents, I decided to work for Mr. Harris's company. That's right. I asked Tom to work with us. At that moment, Jason must have understood everything. He began to apologize in a rush. I didn't know that. I'm terribly sorry. If you had told me it was Mr. Harris's referral. Knowing it was his referral would inevitably raise expectations around him. Depending on the situation, it might even increase jealousy. And the thing I hated the most was the possibility of being thought to succeed just because I was close to Mr. Harris. I kept the truth secret, not telling anyone. I never imagined it would be revealed in this way. But why are you here today, Mr. Harris? Actually, I've known Mr. Harris for a long time. You have a very talented employee this time, and I wanted to discuss that. I got nervous because we headhunted him, but it looks like he might be poached again. Not understanding the situation, I alternated my gaze between Mr. Harris and Linda. We really wanted you to work with us, Tom. Oh, really? Caught off guard by the sudden developments, I couldn't keep up. You might have had some bad experiences in our company, but I still want you to work here. You two knew each other too? It seems Jason didn't know that fact either. If they were acquaintances, it would seem likely they'd have continued a long-term contract. Realizing my confusion, Linda started to speak. I'm not sure if I want to work with my dad. Dad? Do you mean he's your father? Basically, we seldom do business with my dad's company. Unless a very good business partner like this time comes along. Saying this, Linda gave me a mischievous smile. Sorry everyone, please go back to your work. Sorry for the commotion. As Mr. Harris said that, everyone went back to their respective tasks. But there were two people who couldn't return to work. Those were Jason and me. Jason and I were asked to come to the president's office. As I was leaving, I didn't miss the bombshell Linda dropped. Dad. That person approached me knowing I was married. I wonder if you'll properly train him. Jason's face turned pale, paler than I've ever seen. After waving playfully, Linda said to me as she left the office, looking forward to working with you, Tom. Entering the president's office, it seemed as if all other sounds were muted. So, I've received various reports. A subordinate's achievements are your own, your mistakes are your subordinates. It seems you've been doing as you please, Jason. Mr. Harris's voice had turned from calm to filled with anger. Jason trembled uncontrollably, unable to speak. I think it's time for you to consider voluntary resignation. Upon hearing this, Jason looked up and almost shouted. I'm terribly sorry. I'll make sure nothing like this happens again. I'm telling you, we no longer need someone like you. This is the least I can do for you after all the years you've worked for this company. Quit before you're fired. Jason nodded silently and quietly left the room. Mr. Harris then turned to me, his face awkward and sad. I'm truly sorry. I had no idea things had come to this. Indeed, there have been difficulties. But I enjoy working here. This was undoubtedly true. The job itself is enjoyable, and I had no complaints about the company if Jason hadn't stolen my achievements. So, you won't agree to the poaching, right? With a face like a child caught in a prank and on the verge of tears, Mr. Harris looked at me. For a moment, I was puzzled, but then I realized he was worried about me possibly moving to Linda's company. Please continue to count on me in the future. Hearing this, Mr. Harris smiled joyfully. Afterward, Jason left the company through a voluntary resignation. Now that Jason is gone, I can dedicate myself to my work without any stress. Mr. Harris has even suggested that I could become a department head by the end of the year. But I have declined for now. I want to achieve results that I'm truly satisfied with first. I'm determined to meet Mr. Harris's expectations and achieve significant results by the end of this year. I've also managed to establish a friendly relationship with Linda's company. And I'm planning to take my grandparents and sister to Anchorage with this year's year-end bonus. My salary has also increased, and I hope to give back to my grandparents even a little. I intend to continue working at Mr. Harris's company for my grandparents and sister's sake.